The internet is a lot like television, but it's interactive.
Right.
Where people can get involved with the process.
Right.
But video is incredibly powerful.
Yes.
I mean, it's just, it's a lot of guys, like our mutual friend Frank Kern, who has had some big, sales promotions and big multi-million-dollar launches.
Yeah, he
and
had a $5 million weekend just recently.
Yeah. He's an incredible copywriter. He has an incredible skill to use words to get people to buy stuff, to get them excited, to get them to buy stuff. And he himself now, at this point of the time of filming this, is almost abandoning now a lot of the text and a lot of the words for doing all the heavy selling on a website. And he's mostly going to video now.
Yeah.
Now, it won't work for everyone, it won't work for every industry, but that's just a testament to how powerful video is. It's like the infomercial business coming online.
Yeah, it really, well, you've seen a geometric use of video exploding like this, and it's going to get stronger and stronger, and I think a lot of people don't get involved with video because they think, oh, am I going to look well, is it going to come across, but raw is real today, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And another piece I noticed you were talking about, you're saying, the idea of a promise is out, but a favor is in. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, well, marketing has changed during, the last...
Well, then cover that. Maybe that's even better. What was marketing like before?
Sure.
I mean, let's not, there's nothing too obvious besides what's right in front of us. What was marketing? What is marketing? Where is marketing going?
Sure. I believe a lot of older school marketing, from 10, 20 and before that, years, was more about, just the core marketing message of just hitting people with advertising and just, that the marketing communication itself had no value in it. It was literally just a marketing message. And marketing has kind of evolved where now that a lot of the most effective marketing is when there's value for the reader, whether they realize or not that it's marketing, in the marketing itself. So the big thing...
So I'm learning something, I'm being educated, I'm getting new choices,
and
whether I buy the product or not.
And I'm being sold to.
And I'm being sold. Well, my infomercials in the beginning, what separated them, we took over the industry and became most successful, was I said, I don't care if we sell a damn thing. I want somebody watching to be inspired, uplifted, and I want some content, something in there, even in those silly environments, that'll lift somebody. And everybody thought it was completely insane, and it allowed us to dominate the industry. Today, though, with the web,
it's become
you don't have to do $1 million, infomercial that you produce. You can do something raw and real right now.
And it doesn't even have to be video. You can do the same principle in text. But here's the key: people need to ask themselves this with any of the marketing that they're building for the business: are my prospects that are exposed to my marketing, are they better off in their lives after they've gone through it, whether they buy or not?
Even if they've just read a sales letter.
Yeah, even if they just read it. So they should be getting something of value from it.
That's a great test.
So because people use the internet to look for information, to find, product reviews on products, to learn about products, to learn about how-to stuff, whatever it is, because that's the nature of the internet, that's the model that works really well with internet marketing, giving people great value and content within the marketing message, or even when you're not selling something. So the thing about, it's not about, making these promises to people about, like, it's just a sales message. You want to be thinking about doing them a favor, where it's like, here's a bunch of great free stuff. Here's a bunch of really good value for you with whatever you're already searching for. When you're typing in those keywords and they end up on your website, you're giving them great value that they were looking for, along with then, asking them to buy your products, or at least presenting them as a solution.
There's a phrase in the Bible even that talks about, if you wish to become great, nothing wrong with it, be great, learn to become the servant of many. And if you can find a way to serve many people, you're going to be great. You're going to be great financially. You're going to be great in your own sense of emotion, your sense of contribution. Your whole life shifts. So
give and you shall receive. That's the key there. The internet marketing. If you're giving great value, people are going to really want to give you their money. They're going to line up around the block to give you their money when it's time for you to sell them something, rather than if it's just take. Here's what I got to sell. Buy my thing. Buy my thing. Buy my thing.
Right. Tell me, when you see somebody building a great brand in the marketplace today, added value is the foundation of that, what separates that brand? Is that what you'd suggest, or how would you define it? What's going to really build a great brand today? It used to be just massive advertising, right? Coca-Cola, advertise and advertise and advertise.
For me, the way I built my brand and kind of built a following in at least the marketing industry, even though I have other businesses and other interests, the biggest principle is one I learned from my father at a very, very early age. My father was very, very successful as a professional engineer, and he broke all these records for advancing at a younger age than anyone else had. And his philosophy taught me at a young age was simple: always do more than is expected of you. That's what he taught me at a very early age. I always remember that, and I didn't always do it. I tried my best to follow that. But in business, especially when I really started making a lot of money on the internet, when I really started doing things, too many people do the bare minimum. They barely want to do enough just to make that sale or to get the money coming in.
Right.
And the people on the internet that are willing to do like 5% more than the rest of the competitors make most of the money.
That's right.
And so the way you can do that is just simply by over delivering. And that's one of the things that really made me popular and got me a following is, when people bought products from me, I would give them extra things that weren't advertised.
Right.
I just wanted you to also have this.
Right.
If it was in, marketing information where I was actually selling something, I'd just give them an extra report, an extra video, an extra something just of great value,
Right.
over delivering, giving more than what you promise.
Absolutely.
You can't go wrong if you do that. And so the people that are willing to do that, like you did in building your brand using those types of things, you just can't help but win when you do that because so many people aren't willing to do it.
And if you
it doesn't take that much more effort or work or investment to do it. It's crazy.
And if you do it consistently, because some people do that once in a while.
No,
They're
congruency
they're
is
generous
key.
once in a
Being
while. Right?
congruent with your actions in your business are key.
Every time.
Yes.
Yeah. I remember when I was starting my career, it was my early 20s, and I had gotten a certain amount of success. I helped a lot of people. And I had this lady from Life magazine that followed me, and they literally followed me for like 10 days and took pictures all over across the country as they did this crazy stuff. And she came afterwards. Her name is Lynn Goldstein. She's a great lady. I'll never forget. Goldsmith, actually. And she said to me, she goes, you have everything that's going to guarantee your brand for the rest of your life. And I said, what are you talking about? And she said, you have, because she was big into Springsteen, and he was huge in those days. And she says, you have what Bruce Springsteen has. And I said, what do you mean? I'm complimented, but what do you mean? She said, you never stop giving. She said, I watch you up there and you're exhausted and you're sweating and there's nothing left, but you can see somebody needs it and you deliver more. He said, Springsteen goes and he's gone, given everything, and he's soaked and he's gone, and he goes backstage, and he gets the call for the encore. And most people come on for an encore of 1 or 2 songs, and he leaves and comes back for 2 more. He comes and goes, the guy's on there on stage an hour and a half later.
Right.
Most people try to figure out how to do the concert, get through to the next city and fake the enthusiasm. And this son of a bitch is out there giving his soul every time. And when you do that every time, when you're exhausted, when you're tired, when there's nothing left of you, people see it and feel it, and it builds a connection and a relationship where they know you're not just doing this, that you love them, you care about them. I always tell people, fall in love with your customer. Don't fall in love with your product, because the product's got to change, but fall in love with your customer, your client, figure out what to do for them, and you got something you'll never have to worry about being successful in business. And you've done that, and Frank's done that, and Evan's done that, and Mike's done that. All the guys that are kind of part of this family that I'm kind of interviewing here that are the most successful in the world of the internet, every one of you have added value, not as a catchphrase, but a way in which you live your life. You're generous with each other. You work together in that area. And I can't stress enough for people at home that sometimes people are looking for that technical tool or strategy, and there's so much value in that. But 80% of success in any industry I've ever gone in and modeled, like I'm doing here, 80% of it is almost always the perspective of their philosophy, their psychology, their mindset, their emotion, and yours of learning from every single thing, keep changing your approach, learn as much as you can with as little risk as you can, because you risked early on, it was very painful, and constantly add more value than anybody else is, and keep raising the standard, not for the money, but to see what's possible and what you can give, is a foundational philosophy that'll make someone successful in any industry, in any field, whether they use the internet or not. Tell me this though, where's the internet going? I mean, it used to be this thing we went to visit. Now it's this place we live. Where's the internet going? What does that really mean? And what is the internet anymore? It's, well, it used to be on my computer.
Sure.
What is that? Where's the internet going? Where's internet marketing going? How does somebody take advantage of that at the highest level as we move on? And then lastly, I'll just tell you in advance, I'd like to get a sense of where are you going?
Sure.
You've broken through so many pieces, and we'll wrap up with that if that works for you.
Sure. I mean, I think it's obvious the internet has gone from like this destination that we go to, for it like coming to us. It's like a part of our lives now. I mean, it's literally the most important revolutionary thing ever, at least in our lifetime. I think it will be, and it's in everything. It's going to be in how we vote, how we shop, how we eat, everything.
Yeah.
And health. Everything will be tied into it. Yeah. So that's obvious to most people. That's not any earth-shattering, revelation or anything. But as far as where it's going, I think it's just kind of more of the same. It's just going to, for business.
Deepen? What does it mean?
I think more detailed. I think there are going to be different, demographic groups of buyers and people that have interests. And, you're seeing like the social phenomena, social networks, and, the Facebook stuff and Twitter and all this kind of stuff where little tribes are now being formed on the internet, little just groups of people that
people connected from all over the world and never would have known each other, but they share a similar passion or an interest.
Yeah, it's just this hyper topic landscape, where it's like the smallest little interest will have a place on the internet, and you'll know where it is, you'll know how to get to those people, and if you're selling something to those people, you'll know how to get in front of them. And so it's just more of that to a deeper and more,
Which just really means more scale and more leverage if you practice the first steps you talked about, right?
Yeah, so when it comes to internet marketing, if you know and by the way, people should know this, if you want to make millions on the internet marketing, in internet marketing, it comes down to a bunch of fundamentals. There are 100,000 different techniques for driving traffic to a website. But there are probably 4 or 5 main ones that drive 90% of the traffic.
Tell us them now.
To most businesses.
Tell us them now. You set us up.
Well, it's like search engine marketing, ranking, ranking with the search engine. So when someone types something in, you're not the ads on the side. You're in the natural organic listings, they call them.
Right.
Google AdWords, it's just a massive platform for advertising. We talked about those little ads down the side. Publishing your own content. We talk about content is king, or I said in this report that you read, content is Kong, because it's even bigger than king. It's like King Kong. It's everything. That's what the internet's made of, content.
But what you're saying is these are really the 4 ways that really you drive traffic. You get people to come to something you've proven worked, or you're testing.
Yeah, that's where all the money's being generated from, and how to reach the most people. Some video marketing. There are a few other things. Now, there are thousands of other little tricks and techniques. There's some little hidden classified sites you can advertise on, little things. But if you apply the 80-20 rule, which applies to almost anything, it's really not that many things. And so people need to keep that in mind, that they need to learn the fundamentals, especially through this series that they're involved with. This will give them those fundamentals. They need to just act on those fundamentals, and they just need to stick with doing more of what works, less of what's not working when they do their testing. Yeah. But that's pretty much it. If they stick to the fundamentals, as the internet grows and expands and gets more and more granular, more and more specific about little demographic groups and more things, all that's going to do is give the people that have the foundational skills more control over making more money. Because all they do is just turn up the faucet to know exactly more where the traffic's coming from and where the dollars are flowing, and getting more control of the math. The math will just get more decimal, will move more decimal points from a marketing standpoint, where you're more in control of your business, and every dollar and every penny that's spent in anything that you do in internet marketing.
You'll get a more maximum return.
You will, and you'll be able to.
When you say math, when you say granular, and it's somebody that's early in the game, they start to go, oh my God, I don't know those pieces. But what you're really saying is like mastering anything. You get in and you start to learn the first step. You didn't start out driving a stick shift car, right? You get in the car and somebody says, I'm supposed to do this and this and this, and I'm supposed to watch the rearview mirror and watch the road too. Forget it. But after
it's like
a little
running
bit
a
of
lemonade
practice,
stand. Can you think about what it takes to run a lemonade stand? That's what it takes to run an internet business.
Give us the metaphor.
Well, it's not complicated math. It's like if you're spending $3 on that pitcher of lemonade, and you're selling for $1 a cup, and you sell 10 cups, you're making $7 of profit.
Right.
Same type of thing. If what you spend $10 on the advertising, it returns this. It's the same thing. And the beauty of marketing, the beauty of internet marketing, which is different from mail order and marketing before it, is everything can be tracked. Every result can be measured. And so.
And it's pretty immediate.
You don't need to go on emotion like people did, 10 years ago, where you just kind of think, well, I think I got a good feeling we need to go in this direction with this ad campaign or this. You just look at the math. That's it. It's like a video game. You look at the scoreboard, and that's the amount of money that you're making.
Right.
You look at where the money's coming in, where it's not. Again, stop doing the stuff that's not bringing the money. Do more of where the money is coming from.
Right.
It's really not that complicated. It seems complicated. We're talking about click rates and conversion rates and how many people come to the site and uniques and how many people buy. But when you strip away all that stuff, those are just labels for people. And if someone's listening to this that's never heard any of that, it sounds like Chinese.
Right.
But once you learn the fundamentals, it's really not complicated. It really is like running a lemonade stand, as simple as that analogy is.
That's great.
You learn the basic labels. It's just basic math. 1 + 1 = 2, 2 - 1, equals 1, whatever. Maybe I got that wrong. But anyway, I had to think about that for a minute. But that's it. That's what it all comes down to, is the math. You just use the metrics and the measurements of what things are happening when you do things online, and you just go based on the math. That's it.
One of the things I'm going to approach you on, I'll push on the air. You can tell me afterwards you feel differently, but I'm going to take kind of our family here and maybe do a 2-day program from soup to nuts, where you just say, these are the 7, everything from selection to list building to driving your traffic, these are the elements, and have like the best guys in each area share with it, and then have a group say, here's what I do, and have people be able to ask the questions and then show the success cycle. Here are people that are actually, somebody comes in and says, here's how I did it, never been in business before. Now I'm making X per month. I think in the next 3, 4, 5, 6 months we'll put that together. I'd love it if you
Great.
participate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
I think it's what people need.
I think it's what they need.
You know, and it'll make it a lot easier and clearer for them, especially the
it-
examples. Like people need to see examples, even though you explain it. They need to see what something else looks like doing it. Then they
And
can
be able to ask the person, and you will
Yeah,
do that
absolutely.
with a webinar with you too. But to
Absolutely.
ask the person,
Absolutely.
here's my idea. Here's how will I actually do that? And
Yes.
be really specific. Tell me, you know, there's so many different subjects I'd love to touch on, but I know we got to wrap up. Tell me from a perspective of your life now, what's next for you? I mean, you've built this. You're a young man still. What? You're 39 years old.
38 right now.
38 years old, right? What drives you now? What excites you now? What keeps you going? Because you've broken through all these different records. What's the driving force for you now? And what is your next vision for your life and your business?
Well, for me, it's always been about, it's just goes back to being an entrepreneur and that spirit, you know. I like to say I have entrepreneurial ADD, you know, and I get so distracted by new ideas and all kinds of things. And it's gotten me into trouble financially at times when I've abandoned one business to get into something else. And most people that are entrepreneurs fall into that trap. It's just like, and on the internet, it's even worse because you're looking around the internet, you're like, ooh, I can see an opportunity. I can make money here. Ooh, I could sell toys over here. Ooh, I could do this. I could do this. I could do this. It can be dangerous. You got to like kind of hone in and control what you're working on one thing at a time and having singular focus and that sort.
Yeah, because if I asked you
Right.
one of the biggest mistakes, we talked off camera, you said it was, I think you had 14 different sites going simultaneously
I
at
did.
one point.
You know, that
As opposed to concentrating your
Yeah,
power,
yeah.
figuring out what you're best in, and maximizing that instead of 20 things.
That's real quick. That's an important lesson. That's one of the ones I learned the hard way. You know, because it's so cheap to start businesses online, because it can happen so quickly at times, because of the potential. It's so easy to think, well, I'm going to start working on these 10 different things, and if they could each make $1,000 a month, when they all come online together, I'll be making $10,000 a month. It's never going to happen.
Right.
Because it takes so much of your focus to do all the different things. What will happen before that is you get the first one completely done and running, then you do the second one, and only in that order. You
Right.
don't do multiple things at the same time.
Because there's only so much you can focus on and be
Yeah,
effective. I don't care who you are.
You'll be ineffective, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But for me personally, it's just, you know, I really enjoy helping people. I'm a lot like you, and I've really come to appreciate that from getting to know you, you know, off camera and stuff. About it's you know, there's no better way to build wealth for yourself than to, you know, enrich other people's lives. You know, I don't want to butcher the line. I don't know who to give credit to, but it's like, you know, get rich by enriching the lives of other people. So for me, you know, I dropped out of college. I didn't go and get the job that my mother wanted to have. I don't technically, I mean, I kind of have a career, I guess, in my teaching business, if you want to call it that. But for me, I really didn't have a career traditionally like other people. So a career for people is really where they get their fulfillment and what they did with their lives. But for me, at least for my teaching and helping people learn marketing and make money for themselves, that's very fulfilling for me, and that's an important thing in my life. That's why I'm doing it. Of course, also to make money. I'm a businessman. I know I can make money doing it, but I get tremendous fulfillment out of helping someone else, you know, go from $3,000 a month to $90,000 a month, which has happened with a lot of my students. So it's great. But so for me, it's doing more of that, you know, for as long as I feel like doing it, and then, you know, following other interests. You know, I just started a software company recently. I'm doing, you know, some things for the iPhone. I think that would be fun and creative to do programs, and for the rest of my life, I'll just be involved in different businesses because it's a creative outlet for me, and it's fun. It's like a game. It's a game at this point.
Yeah. There's a quality of life, you know, that when people are pursuing economics, and then you get to a certain level, you have that day, that $10,000 day, $100,000 day, $1 million day, hundreds of $1 million day if you get lucky and you hit a stock market day or something. I had one of those days, $400 million in a day on paper. You know, the stock of my company went there.
No reason to brag.
Yeah, no, it's okay. But I'm proud of it.
I'm
like
just
you.
teasing you.
But when you have those days, and then the money doesn't become any close. Usually, by the time you get to that day, it's not a driving force anymore. Anyway, it's a sense of meaning, or it's a sense of relationship, or it's a sense of family. It's a sense that you made a difference. You still appreciate the money. You know, at this stage of your life, you're getting that from that contribution. You're getting that from that sense of meaning. I see you getting that from being around Frank. I mean, you're making a move pretty shortly here where you're going to be, you know, spending more time around the people you love most.
Right.
What advice do you give somebody who's early on in the journey so they don't lose that part? Because there are times in your life you lost that part. You lost your health.
Right,
You
sure.
know, emotionally, you were. You know, if you could go back and you could say to young John or young Johnny,
Sure.
Johnny, here's what I need you to know. You're in the middle of this right now, buddy, but here's what you need to know so you can take advantage of this and know it's going to work out. What advice do you give that person who's in the middle of winter right now, who's freaking out? Because you're on the other side of this game, right?
Right,
What do you
absolutely.
say to them to help them get there?
The first thing I would say is, you know, don't abandon your large dreams of making a lot of money and having everything that money could buy in your life. Keep that, but at the same time, focused first on the first major goal for you, aside from making $1 and all the smaller things, is getting to the point in income to support a basic lifestyle for you and your family.
Right.
To take the pressure off.
Right.
Because I find the real magic happens, even though it sounds a little cliche, the real magic happens when the pressure's off.
Yeah.
If you think you can perform now in building a little business to get to the point where you're generating enough income where you're supporting yourself, just wait and see what happens when you get to the point where all the pressure's off. Because then you can really take more chances, you can be more creative, you're really in control. It's that freedom.
Right.
It's sad to say, that's one of the almost, it's like the rich getting richer and everything else, but it really is, when you get to that point where the pressure's off, the rate, I believe, if you keep at it and you're really driven to do it, the rate at which you build wealth accelerates incredibly at that point.
It's like a tipping point emotionally.
Sure. So that's the one thing I would give advice to people is, don't abandon the making the $1 million a year or a day or whatever your ultimate goals are, but
set a target that once you get there, there's a certain level of freedom that allows you to play the game more for fun than because you have to.
Right. I always thought of it for me that there was this incredible power in being able to pay for my cable bill. The cable bill for me, because I spent a lot of time watching TV and enjoying the TV, and it was a great value back then for $20 a month, $30 a month. I tried to get myself, and I've taught this to other students, and they've done the same thing. I get a lot of great feedback from it. Aside from making $1 to validate that things are working, get to the point where you can make enough profit to pay for your cable bill every month. Today a cable bill is like $100-something if you're getting cable modems, internet access. But that's one of the smaller recurring bills in people's lifestyles. So make enough income to pay for that bill, and then it's a tremendous feeling to sit around anytime you watch TV and go, hey, I paid for this. My efforts and my little business paid for this. And then try to knock out the electric bill, and then the big one, your rent, and then the other bills in your life, till you can eventually, if you do have a job, completely support yourself. And it's an incredibly empowering feeling when there's parts of your life that you're experiencing and utilizing that your efforts paid for. Even as silly as it sounds, paying for the cable bill, you won't watch TV I promise.
No, I
if no one doesn't have a business yet and they're working a job, when your little internet business, even if it's only making $40, $50 a month in profit at the beginning, you'll watch TV in a totally different way, knowing that your little business paid for that.
Yeah, and I think what you're saying is so critical. It's that same chunking. People get over-chunked. I have this huge dream, and I'm so excited about it, but it's those steps in between. And one of the things we teach
Too much
people
all
is,
or nothing.
That's right.
It's like I either have the dream or I have nothing.
Yeah, and
that's not how it works.
makes you not start, or makes you start and just quit. It's like, one of the big financial goals for people, we'd say, okay, your ultimate financial goal is this, but we'd say, what if your mortgage, your food, your insurance, your travel of your car, if those pieces were paid for without you having to work, how would you feel? There are other expenses in your life, but you didn't have to work to pay for those things. Your housing, your food.
Be thrilled.
You'd be out of your mind. And that number, if you sit down and figure out what it really is, well, maybe decent size. It's nothing like the number you say you got to go make $1 million in the year or the week or whatever the case may be. And when people get that, they get that certainty, they get that momentum, they get that
90-something% of the way to getting it all. They just
absolutely right.
And people hear me say that. I know it's easy to think, whatever.
But if they do it,
making
they'll
a couple
see
grand
it's
a
true.
month is nowhere near like making $1 million a year. But people don't realize it's really a lot closer than people realize.
And there's an emotional hook that in the end, it's all about feeling anyway. What's the difference between $1 million, $10 million, $100,000? All the research shows in terms of happiness, you can change your happiness pretty radically. When you go from poor to 50, 75, 100, but you get around that $75,000 to $100,000 depending upon the culture, and making more money doesn't make you any happier. What makes you happier is progress, growing, figuring things out, being with family, being with friends. So I want to finish up with lifestyle, because a lot of people have a lot of money and they have no lifestyle. They have no joy, they have no happiness, they have no sense of meaning. I can't tell you how many people, I get the calls from the person who's, they made $300 million and they're totally depressed. Or a person wants to take their life and they got everything. I mean, I had the privilege of sitting down with Princess Diana at a point where her description of herself was, this bird in a gilded cage, sitting with her literally in the palace, trying to figure out what she was going to do because she hated her life in every way. It was completely depressed. So getting things, becoming the princess or the king or the money just doesn't do it by itself. But what does it, I believe, is progress, growing, and giving. Having something that makes you feel more alive each day and something to give. And the other part is relationships. I mean, at the end of your life, people don't talk about, the houses they had. They talk about those moments where they broke through, or their friends, or the laughter. We were talking off camera about, you and Frank and some of the crazy stuff you've done, and
Right,
you're
right.
cracking up. But also, I saw that
Stuff
same,
we can't talk about
no,
on
we're not going
camera.
to talk about on the air here. Don't worry,
Right,
I'm not
right,
taking you
sure.
there. But I remember seeing Frank. We were talking earlier, and he was like talking about the day he had made $2,500
Right.
in 5 days, right? And he was more lit up about that than the day that he helped contribute to.
Because that had more meaning.
Yeah, it had more meaning. So the meaning is it. So last thing I want to leave with people is, it doesn't matter where you are. What matters is the meaning you pull from it, right? And there's some rituals or things you can do to make life more meaningful. And we have some mutual friends, but you have a friend that's taught you about Super Happy Fun Day. So I thought maybe we'd finish with that little piece.
Yeah, Dean Jackson.
That's right.
He's a mutual friend of a
Yeah,
lot of
he's
ours.
part of this
Yeah.
series as well.
Yeah. So Dean, of course, does really well
Yeah.
in his business, but he doesn't like to work a lot.
That's right.
By choice.
Yeah.
Unlike some other friends that we have that work a lot of hours, and,
Right.
and they enjoy working very hard and making a lot of money. He makes less money than he could, but his angle of attack to his life is that he just wants to really enjoy every day and kind of goof off and not have to work too hard.
That's right.
And a lot of people out there watching this, they probably want the same life. And
Yeah.
as I get older, I'm going more and more towards
See, he's
wanting
fairly
that
wise
life.
man, right?
That's exactly right. So, but it's great, and he'll
But what's a Super Happy Fun Day? for
Sure,
example?
sure, right. So he came up with this. We kind of created it together.
Yeah.
He spends he lives in Canada part of the year, and the other part in Florida, where I was living before. Now I'm in transition during this interview of coming out here to California. But he, when he's at home, we'd get together, every couple of weeks or whatever else, and we came up with this thing called a Super Happy Fun Day, and that's basically where we would just spend a whole day goofing off.
Right.
We'd go out to eat. We had rules
But
to
they're
it.
very, I was going to say, very
Yeah,
specific
yeah,
rules.
so
if
we
I
had
remember.
rules to this Super Happy Fun Day thing. So we'd
To
have
qualify as a Super
yeah,
Happy Fun Day,
yeah.
or to be one, you had to.
It would have to last at least, I think it's 9 hours, at a minimum. Usually it would last a lot longer than that. But you'd have to have 2 meals together, and they'd have to be at restaurants or somewhere, 2 different places. And then there'd have to be a minimum of 2 different activities, like playing golf. And one of the fallbacks of one of those activities was almost always going to see a movie. We both enjoy films, Dean and I, so we'd go see a movie. So go see a movie, and then we'd go play golf or do putt-putt or, go to the mall and do something else, but some other activity. And then at the end of the day, and of course there were other excursions during the day. We'd go to Barnes & Noble and look at magazines and hang out and just do, all kinds of stuff. But at the end of the day, the other rule was, at the very end of the day, before we both part ways, we have a moment to reflect and talk about what happened on the day.
Yeah.
We walk through all the things that we did again, laugh about little things that happened and everything. We just replay it all.
And drive the grooves deeper.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's great. Dean says it best. He says, when I'm on my deathbed someday and I reflect back on my entire life, the days that I will remember are these Super Happy Fun Days more than any other day.
Yeah.
And it's true. So that's just a testament of you better enjoy the days that you have. So the beauty of the internet marketing stuff, at least for me, I've been very, very blessed. I'm the first to admit it. A little bit of what I've done, a lot of it was hard work. I did have some luck involved with certain timing and certain things, like just businesses. But the beauty of it is working hard at this business and being able to reap the rewards of the lifestyle that you create for you and your family. It's just amazing. I've been to every continent in the world except for Antarctica, and I plan to go there within about a year and a half before I turn 40. That was one of my goals, and I plan to do that. But I take several trips a year. I travel all around the world. I basically can live any life that I want, and it's because of having my own business and doing this thing that we're talking about. Yeah. So it's great. I mean, I wouldn't want to have any other life because. It's cliche, but life's too short to, do the stuff that everyone else is doing that everyone hates to do. That life of, sitting in the cubicle and doing the 9 to 5 and doing all that stuff. Yeah. So, anyone that's watching this, I mean, I hate to just sound like a cult leader or something, but follow what you're learning. Listen to what you're hearing in this series. But for God's sake, do something about it. Yeah. Try it, Okay, if you don't think it's going to work, fine. Prove to me that it doesn't work. You prove to me that it doesn't work. You take action on all the stuff that you're learning and prove to me that it doesn't work.
It's not going to happen because if you implement it and you learn,
of course,
you look at every asset.
But for anyone else, that's still, if they really think that, they
don't.
You prove it to me.
People are just scared. People are just scared.
I'll do something amazing for you. I'll buy you something amazing. I promise. If you actually do what you learn and it doesn't work, because it does work. Yeah. This isn't stuff we're just making up. It's reality, and so you either adopt this reality and make it part of your life, or you don't.
Yeah.
That's the decision. It's up to somebody watching. No one's going to make the decision for them. They have one of two paths to take at this point. They either do it and they change their life because of what's going to result from it, or they don't, period.
Well, everybody's life in the end, I've always said, is either a warning or an example. Everybody's life in the end. And you got to decide which one you're going to be. And if you have a life that you live that you hate or you dislike immensely and you don't do something to change it, we know it's going to be a warning. And what I hope people get out of this is your real passion. One of the beautiful things of hanging out with you, John, is to see just how you're a smart guy and you're a very systemic guy and you're a very dedicated and devoted guy, but you're just a fun guy too outside of this piece. And just to see what you've created in your life, from where you were to where you've created in your life, and that you're on the beginning of your journey, truthfully, is very, very inspiring. And I hope that the people watching will see this is doable for them. That was our real goal. That's why I wanted to have you tell so much of your story and see how it unfolded.
Definitely.
That it didn't just happen overnight. You weren't
Sure.
some genius that just made $1 million in a few hours. You're somebody that built to that process. But because you built to it, somebody else can get there faster by seeing your pathway. And,
Absolutely.
And I want them to also get, when you get there, whatever you think there is, it's never it anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you got to keep growing, you got to feel alive.
It's just one bus stop along the circuit.
It really
You know,
is.
there's going to be other stops,
And one more
other destinations.
and some other lessons along the way. So enjoy every moment along the damn
Absolutely.
way. That's why I brought up at the very end. Make sure you have your super happy fun days, whatever that
Yep.
is for you,
Yep, definitely.
along the way instead of waiting for someday, because that someday leads to a town called nowhere.
Exactly.
It just doesn't happen that way.
So we're going to start the Super Happy Fun Day movement.
It started here. Well, Dean started it. We're going to
Yes.
help him pass it
Yes.
on. Make it
Yes.
work. It's been such a pleasure.
Thanks so
to be
much.
with
I
you.
appreciate it.
Really,
I appreciate
really.
it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.